Hi, TheMudbrooker here. I was tagged by Violently Graceful to explain how I came by the username TheMudbrooker. Well, there's not a whole lot of explaining to it. I use the name TheMudbrooker because I am. Mudbrook is a real place. We even have a theme song. I'll get to that later. But you won't find it on any map. Mudbrook is the name us locals call this particular corner of the county. The main reason you won't find it on a map is because we only have one defined boundary. And that's a state highway which runs north and south along the western edge of Mudbrook. On one side of the road you're in Mudbrook, on the other side of the road you ain't. Apart from that, the boundaries aren't so much defined as the point where you leave Mudbrook, as they are by the point where you leave the last Mudbrooker behind. While most of us out here are native born to the area, it's possible for an outsider to become a Mudbrooker. It takes about 20 years on average, but there are a few things you can do to accelerate the process. Work is scarce out here, and most of the work there is seasonal, so it's pretty common to spend winters dead broke. So for every winter that you live on venison and potatoes, provided the deer are killed on an as-needed basis without regard to license or season, you get a year off. For every dose of medication you take that's clearly labeled for animal use only, you get a day off. 2 days if you use it on your kids, plus there's a bonus day if it has to be administered by a deep intramuscular injection. You get a week off for every time you use your food stamps to buy a lutefisk. And if you own at least a dozen vehicles during your probationary period, and the total sale price of all of them combined comes to less than $4,000, you get a month off. Well, it's not terribly difficult for somebody with the right temperament to become a Mudbrooker. Becoming the Mudbrooker is a much more arduous process. I can't go into a whole lot of detail with the uninitiated, but I can tell you that when the old Mudbrooker dies, the eligible candidates gather to undergo the ordeal. Few survive. It's been almost 15 years now, and I still wake up screaming in the middle of the night. For all a man has to go through to append the title "the" to the name Mudbrooker, there's not really a whole lot of privileges that come with it. I don't get to keep serfs. I'm not entitled to anybody's virginity, not that you're likely to find any virgins anywhere near the age of consent around here anyway. About the only privilege that comes with the title is that when somebody in Mudbrook dies, I have the right to be the first one to go through their pockets for loose change. As I mentioned before, Mudbrook has a theme song. Michael Perry is a local author, singer, songwriter, would-be farmer, humorist, television personality, and all-around Renaissance man. He's written several books, the most notable of which is Population 485, Meeting Your Neighbors One Siren at a Time, which actually spent some time on the New York Times bestseller list. In addition to writing, Mike also goes out and tours with his band The Long Beds. They're the ones who did this song. And he does a spot on Wisconsin Public Television called the Clodhopper Report. I'll provide links down there below the monkey's ass to several of the episodes which can be found here on YouTube. I'll also provide a link to his website, sneezingcow.com. When you get over there, which I highly encourage you to do, buy some of his books and CDs in order to help me repay his kindness in allowing me to use his song in this video. One other thing before we start the song. Mike dedicates it to the Taylor boys and their tractor. The Taylor boys were old bachelor farmers that lived out here in Mudbrook. They were kind of a Laurel and Hardy looking pair. The older brother was a big heavy-set guy, and the younger brother was the lean, lanky type. To the best of my knowledge, they never owned a car, but they did have an old Farmall A tractor and a wagon built out of a pickup box. You'd see them once a month going into town to do their banking, and about once a week or so they'd make a run to the corner store for beer and other supplies. The older brother would drive the tractor, and the younger would ride in the back, sitting in a rocking chair in the wagon. Here must be about 10 years by now, the older brother died one spring. The younger brother, he stuck around for the rest of the summer in their old house, until fall when some of the relatives took him in hand and moved him to an apartment in town. He lasted about another year after that before he too passed on. But I really miss him. I miss seeing him around. I think once I start getting old enough, so I can actually retire, I'm going to buy me a little tractor and truck box wagon. Use that to go to the corner when I need stuff. I usually ain't in a big hurry anyway, and it's a nice drive. But enough from me. I'm going to let Mike sing you a song.
All right, this is for the Taylor boys and their tractor. Somewhere out in Mudbrook, out there in the sticks, lives the last authentic, completely unusual man. He's sick of the dadgum government, he's sick of his neighbors too. He's sick of me and he damn sure sick of you. He got a lumpy little dog and a shotgun by the bed. He got a bucket load of trouble in his head. Someone from the county, they come by to count his teeth. He said you'll find them over there behind the couch. And two ladies from the church, they brought him chicken and a Bible verse. He said thank you, now pray for someone worse. He got a lumpy little dog and a shotgun by the bed. He got a bucket load of chaos in his head. Well, he's fed up with the rednecks, their bellies and their chew. And he's tired of clipboard hippies telling him what to do. And them mail order hikers with kayaks on their cars, mostly Subarus, tuned to NPR. He got a grumpy little dog and a shotgun by the bed. He got a bucket load of decline in his head. Well, I went out to see him the other day. He's just sitting there on his porch. He said, I don't know much. And that's a lie. But I've been studying on it. And I do know. He says, I do know this. If it beeps, it won't last. Flash runs out of gas. We all should spend a night on someone's grave. Man, if you can learn from that, if that don't snap your cap, drink the Kool-Aid, go on, enjoy the ride. He got a happy little dog and a shotgun by the bed. He got a teaspoon of hopeful in his head. Somewhere out in Mudbrook, out there in the sticks, lives the last authentic, completely unusual